Salute, salute. Salute, America. Salute, Uncut Squad. Please hit the subscribe button as you come in, and that thumbs up button is important. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody, including the UK who's been watching. Thank you. I'm humble. Here's what I want to talk about. Have you ever noticed that God has a sense of humor? Have you ever noticed that God will throw you testers every now and then to see if you're going to remain humble, to see if you be able to shake it off and still walk spiritually rather than resorting back to your flesh? I find it hilarious. So I'm sharing this because, listen, when you're aligned with God and you're keeping Him first, you're putting Him before everything, even yourself, okay? When you're fully aligned, God gives blessings, all right? But God also will throw testers along your path before your blessings while you're walking upright with Him to see if you will get discouraged or to see if you will remain faithful. And it's very important to remain faithful no matter what. So what am I getting at? The only way to remain faithful is to let any struggles you have in the flesh, let it become irrelevant. And shout out to my cousin T for that. And I told you inspired me yesterday to make a video. You inspired me all day yesterday. Like, cuz, hats off, cuz. Hats off, cuz. Hats off, cuz. I'm going to stand 10 toes down and you get 10 hands down like you, cuz, you the bomb. But we have to let our fleshly struggles or discouragements or whatever you're going through become irrelevant. It's irrelevant to your walk with God. It's irrelevant to on your spiritual journey, so to speak. It's irrelevant. You can't allow anything to cause you dismay. Okay? Look at it as a race. There's a starting point, there's an ending point. Okay? And you're racing against obstacles to get to your blessing. You're not racing another human being. You're racing against obstacles, tests, what I call God's sense of humor, until He gets us to recognize that Ephesians 6, you have to put on the full armor of God. And then you'll realize Luke 1:27, for with God nothing shall be impossible. So why are we worried in the flesh in the first place? We're in a spiritual warfare. Anything you're going through in a fleshly sense, in how my cousin was saying, shout out to my cousin. These humans, anything you go through in a human form, as a human, with the human, it is irrelevant to your spiritual walk. It's irrelevant. You have to remain faithful and humble. You have to dodge every single obstacle. Every single obstacle on your way to that finish line in order to get your blessing. But if you don't keep God first, if you don't stay aligned, if you don't recognize that you're in a spiritual warfare, that we fight against flesh and blood, not against spirits and principalities. Well, I said that backwards. We don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against spirit and principalities. There you go. Thank you. We have to realize that. I'm going to say it one more time. We do not fight against flesh and blood, but against spirit and principalities. That's spiritual. So arm yourself with the full armor of God, and nothing that you're going through right now is more important than your walk with your higher power. Especially if you want to come out of what you're going through. If you try to do it yourself, you're going to mess it up worse. You're going to mess it up worse. You can't interfere with God's divine intervention. It's His time, not yours. But you have something that you have to do. It's not, here son, here daughter, here goes a blessing. No, The same way you work for a paycheck, you work for that blessing. And the same way you recognize what you need to do to complete your job so that you can go back to your job time and time again for more paychecks is what you need to do to get those blessings from your higher power, from God himself. You got to keep walking that walk. You got to keep talking that talk. You got to remain faithful. The same way you remain faithful to pay your bills, it should be the same way you remain faithful with God for your blessings. Anything else that you're going through in the flesh, these humans, as my cousin would say, it is irrelevant. Irrelevant with your walk with God. Holds no weight, no merit. You know why? Because God can change everything. I tell you all the time, he can either repair it or he can replace it. He can repair you, or if you don't walk upright, he can allow the devil to put his hand on you and you're replaced. But he's a forgiving God. I don't want to lose my place, and I'm not going to lose my race. You have to recognize these things in the flesh. And yeah, this video ran a little long, but I really want to talk to y'all about being able to recognize this and walking in the spirit. You cannot fight anything in the flesh with the flesh. You've got to fight it in the spirit and through the spirit. You have to. It's spiritual warfare. Third eye open, people. Open the third eye. Third eye's open. Tap in. Tap in. Spiritual elevation. Tap in. Recognize these things. See it coming. Know what you're dealing with. With that being said, stay real, stay woke, stay uncut, be inspired, be great, be you. Man, keep your eyes on God, man. Everything else is irrelevant because God can work it out. Pick your battles. I hope you pick your blessing. Ashe.